Hello and welcome to Let's Read. I'm Dolce Melodia, and today I'm going to read a fanfiction requested by one of my friends, and it's an Odyssey fanfiction named Satoshi and the Dragon, and it's written by Wohoo. So I'm just going to start right now. Many years ago, there was a young man named Satoshi. Satoshi lived in a tiny fishing village in a faraway place. He was a baker, but like all the villagers, he also fished. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday he baked bread. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday he fished. On Sunday he rested. One day Satoshi began to hear that the fish were nearly gone from their tiny lagoon. Each day the villagers caught fewer and fewer fish until one day they caught nothing at all. "Our water is poisoned," the village elder said. "The fish cannot swim in it. It must be purified. Then the fish will return." "But how will we purify it?" the villagers asked. "One of us must go and ask the great sea dragon for one of his scales," the elder said. "When we place the scale in the water, it will become pure." "But grandfather," said one man, "that is a long and perilous journey to the sea dragon. Who will go?" "We shall play rock, paper, scissors, and the winner shall go." So all the villagers, young and old, played rock, paper, scissors. It took hours, but at the very end the winner was Satoshi. He was not happy. Tomorrow was Sunday and he wanted to sleep. But he said, "All right, I will go." Satoshi packed his bag with bread, apples, and a little dried fish. He also packed his fishing pole and a blanket to sleep on. "I'm going now," he told the villagers the next morning as he yawned. He began to walk east to the sun. Satoshi soon realized he walked very slowly. He was also quite thirsty. He came upon a meadow. There were 3 horses there drinking from a pool of water. The horses looked up at him when he entered the meadow. "Hello," he told them. "I'm very thirsty. May I have some of your water?" 2 of the horses fled, but a chestnut brown one with a large dark patch across his left shoulder stayed put, staring at Satoshi with big brown eyes. "Are you a boy?" the horse asked him. Satoshi said. "I'm a man." "What's that?" the horse replied, his tail flicking to show his confusion. "Like a boy," Satoshi explained, "only bigger." "Oh, that's all right then," the horse said. "I'm Aiba. I'm a horse." "I noticed," Satoshi said politely. "May I have some water?" Aiba ducked his head guilty. "This is a magic spring," he said. "One swallow fills you up for a whole day. You have to trade something." "I have an apple," Satoshi said. "If I give you this apple, may I drink 3 swallows of water? I'm traveling very far away." "I like apples," Aiba said. "But that is a big apple. It's worth more than 3 swallows." "It's the smallest I have," Satoshi said. "Please take it." Aiba shifted on his hooves uneasily before he got an idea. "I will come with you on your journey," he went excitedly. "Do you know where the great sea dragon lives?" Satoshi asked. "I'm going there." "I don't know," Aiba admitted. "But you can ride me. I run very fast and I'm young and strong. Every day I drink from the spring so I don't need water for weeks." "All right," Satoshi agreed. "My feet are tired anyway." So he gave Aiba the apple and watched him chomp it up in 3 bites. Then he knelt at the edge of the spring and drank 3 big swallows. It was cold, clear, and delicious. He climbed on Aiba's back, pointing. "The sea dragon lives in the east. We are going that way." As Aiba had promised, he was fast. Satoshi told him about his village and the fish. Aiba told him about the spring and how the animals to the east were magic and spoke as humans did. They rode all day, and as night began to fall, they stopped to sleep. Satoshi unrolled his blanket. He ate a bite of the bread and gave Aiba another apple. Then they lay down to sleep. "Oh, this is a pretty cute story." Satoshi dreamed. He was still lying on his blanket, but he became aware of a young man sitting at the foot of his bed. Even sitting, he gave the impression of being tall and long-limbed. There was a dark birthmark across his shoulder that stood out even against the young man's tanned skin. Satoshi felt a cold night breeze blow across him, and Satoshi realized The young man was totally naked. It seemed unimportant. He was dreaming after all. Wordlessly, he lifted the edge of the blanket, inviting the young man in. The man grinned waggishly and climbed in, tossing his long limbs over Satoshi's body and warming him. He smelled, Satoshi thought faintly before the dream slipped away, like apples. When he woke up, Aya was nursing at his head and snorting unhappily. "Get up," he said, "or we won't know which way east is." Satoshi grunted and rolled out of bed. "I had a strange dream," he said. But even as he said the words, the fragments of the dream slipped away. Despite Ida's best efforts, they lost track of east entirely. Satoshi climbed down, opening his bed and pulling out another apple for Iba, who was stomping the dirt and feeling sorry for himself. Satoshi then removed a strip of dried fish from his back to chew on as he thought. He sat down on the ground, trying to think of any other way he could navigate. "Hopeless," a disdainful voice said near his elbow. "Utterly hopeless." Satoshi looked down and saw an exquisitely hard-weight black cat with slitted green eyes. The cat looked at him as if waiting for an answer. "Hello," Satoshi said politely. "My name is Satoshi. This is—" "Whoa," said Ida, shuffling at his hoof excitedly. "You must be a lion, right? You look like a lion." "Which would make you an ass?" the cat said primly. "I'm a horse," Ida said, not even slightly offended. "My name is Ida." "I'm Jun the cat," Jun said, flicking his tail. "Pardon, but is that fish?" "Yes," Satoshi said. "It's from my village." He stooped to get more fish from his bag as he told Jun about their journey and their current predicament. Jun blinked his green eyes in a slow, lazy way. "You're not going east now," Jun said, bending between Satoshi's ankles. "But if you give me that fish, I can take you east." "That's very kind of you," Satoshi said, smiling warmly at Jun. Jun's tail stiffened and he said, "No, it isn't. I just like fish. It's nothing personal." "Aw." "Well, still," Satoshi said, "can you ride a horse?" Jun looked at Iba. Iba looked at Jun. There was a brief moment of silence, broken when Iba said in a resigned sort of way, "You're going to use your claws to stay on, aren't you?" "That's the general plan, yes," Jun said. "No." "What if I put the blanket on your back? Then Jun can hold onto that instead," Satoshi suggested. Both animals agreed this was a better plan, and soon Jun was settled just in front of Satoshi on his saddle blanket, chewing on dried fish and occasionally saying things like, "Turn left here, your other left, you ungainly undulate." Iba never seemed terribly annoyed by Jun's direction, and Satoshi thought that riding a horse with a cat was actually pretty funny. It is. Once again the sun began to set. They dismounted and ate an apple for Iba, fish for Jun, and dried bread for Satoshi. Satoshi once again rolled out his blanket and fell asleep. Once again he dreamed. There were two young men this time. The long-legged tanned man from the night before was again waiting for Satoshi's feet to be let in. The new young man was pale with jet black hair and was just as naked as the other. But he wasn't waiting for an invitation. He crawled up Satoshi's body, predation in every smooth roll of his joints, until he was standing over Satoshi on his hands and knees. He lifted one hand to raise Satoshi's chin. Satoshi noticed his sharp, manicured nails. The man bit Satoshi's throat. Not hard enough to hurt, just enough to establish power. He soothed away the sting with a dry, rough tongue. Well. Once again, Satoshi lifted the blanket to invite them in. The apple-smelling man tossed his limbs over Satoshi again. The other man curled on Satoshi's other side, nosing at his hair. He smelled distinctly of fish, but not unpleasantly so. The smell just reminded Satoshi of home. He woke up when Jun smacked him in the face with a velvety paw. Luckily, he had his claws retracted. "Do you have more fish?" Jun asked. Only a little, Satoshi yawned. I think we should save it. Could you catch something else to eat today? Yes, Jun sulked. But I like fish better. Wait here. So Jun stalked off into the underbrush to hunt. Iva chewed on various plants experimentally. He kept Satoshi up to date on the taste. This one is very crunchy, Iva said. Then this one is very bitter. Yuck! He spat it out. Try not to eat anything that might be poisonous, Satoshi said, eyeing a bush full of bright flowers with suspicion. Oh, good plan, Iva said, as thought it hadn't even occurred to him. He continued grazing, glancing back at Satoshi. Suddenly, Jun burst out of the brush. His fur was bristling and he was almost spinning with rage. Where is he? Jun hissed. Satoshi was about to ask who, but Iva shouted, Satoshi, your bag is running away! Satoshi turned and scooped up his bag. He turned it over, emptying out the contents. Apples, bread, and an entirely dead rabbit with a stoat's jaws locked around its throat. Said the stoat. My rabbit! Jun spat. Rinders creepers! The stoat said around the rabbit in his mouth. You didn't find it, Jun yelled. You stole it from me. Squealers creepers! The stoat tried with a shrug. Would you like some fish? Satoshi said, hoping to defrost the situation somewhat. I already ate your fish, the stoat confessed with a hesitation. This morning when you were asleep. He grinned and laughed. Now I want meat. My meat, Jun snarled, and my fish! Suddenly Iva's front left hoof came down on the stoat's tail. His rear right hoof landed on Jun's. Both animals let out wails. The stoat released the rabbit from his jaws and tried to gnaw at Iva's foot to get away, but all his teeth found was hard, unfeeling hoof. I think, Iva said brightly, we should all be friends. Aw. Me, the stoat squeaked. Friends with a donkey and Mr. Hissy-Fit. I'm a horse, Iva said patiently. I refuse to be friends with a criminal, Jun said. Okay then, Satoshi said. I will just keep standing on you until you can agree to be nice to each other. You know he's a weasel, right? Jun said. Have you ever met an honest weasel? I'm a stoat, the stoat said, puffing up. My name is Nino. Stoats are very trustworthy. Aww. Did you really eat all my fish? Satoshi said. Nino said. Yeah, I did do that. We needed that food, Jun hissed. We're on a journey. Really? Nino said, looking genially remorseful. That really wasn't enough for 3 of you anyway, you know. I could handle our hunting, Jun said. For you, sure, Nino said, but not the human. He eats more than you. Look how thin he is. He gives you his food. Iva released the tails and Jun sat down and swished his back and forth in an irritated way. Is that true? Iva asked. Have you been giving us your food? You're my friends, Satoshi shrugged. You were hungry. There was a silence until Nino gave one tiny sniff and declared, I'll come with you on your journey. I ate your food. I owe you a debt, so I'll feed the human. I'm Satoshi said, holding out his hand, palm up. Nino looked at it before placing both of his little paws in Satoshi's hand. Aww, that's cute. I'll feed Satoshi, said Nino gravely. I swear it on my stoat's honor. Stoats have honor? Iva asked curiously. Of course, Nino said. If we had thorns, we'd all be samurai. Oh. So Nino returned Jun's rabbit and caught a small bird for Satoshi. He didn't really want to eat something so small and cute, but he didn't want to offend Nino. He ate it quickly and Nino seemed satisfied. They continued on their journey, Satoshi riding Iva with Jun perched in front of him. Nino couldn't make up his mind where he wanted to be. He dove around in Satoshi's back for a while, then his pants for a while, before finally settling in a drape across Satoshi's shoulder. The sun started to set, and as soon as Satoshi laid out the blanket, Nino burrowed inside. Satoshi only had to nudge him aside a little to get in. His dream that night had 3 young men this time. One of them was already wrapped around him, a warm nose tucked under his jaw. For the first time the men spoke. "We found him first," the pale man said. "I found him first," the tan one corrected. "Either way," the pale one said, annoyed. "This one is usurping." "I don't mind squeezing in on his side," the tan man said, sliding under the blanket. The pale man said nothing, but he did press a possessive kiss to Satoshi's chin before settling down at his side. Satoshi could feel a new, smaller man that smelled like breadcrumbs smile against his neck. When he woke up, he found a small bird's nest with 4 little eggs in it. Nino dragged it over to him, clearly telling Satoshi to eat them. Satoshi swallowed them, but he realized he was thirsty too. It was the 4th day, and his magic spring water was gone. "I'm thirsty," Satoshi said to his merry band of animal friends. "I looked for water," Nino said, "for fish, but I couldn't find any." "It's almost a desert out here," Ida said. "Most of the plants are dry." He stomped on the dry dirt with first one foot, then the other, and Nino's ears pricked. "Hang on," he said. That one's hollow." And before anyone could stop him, Nino had dug his way down to a tunnel and darted deep inside. I wonder if it will collapse on him, Jim said hopefully. "Didn't he share that shrew with you this morning?" Ida said reproachfully. "You should be nicer to him." Jim said nothing, but he did stick his head in the head curiously. Suddenly he popped out again. "There's something in there," he announced. "Nino is chasing it out." Okay, here counts. Okay, "Wait, stop, I swear I didn't know someone lived here. I'll stop biting my tail," a voice squeaked, getting louder as it neared the surface. Finally, a flurry of feathers and fur, Nino and a medium-sized bird with a round head popped out. "Satoshi," Nino said with delight, "I found a whole chicken for you." "I'm an owl," the bird squawked indignantly. "No, you're not," said Ima firmly. "Owls live in trees." "Trees are very high, you know," the owl informed him. "Terribly unsafe for sledding. Burrows are much better." "Unless a stoat lives there," Nino pointed out, "or a badger, or a snake, or a—" "All right, not that safe," the owl said, "but it's still better than a tree." "I'm Satoshi," Satoshi said. "This is Ida, Jim, and the one who thinks you look like dinner is Nino," Jim said. "We're going on a journey to see the great sea dragon." "And Satoshi really needs some water," Ida added. "I'm sure," the owl said. "I'm a burrowing owl. I know somewhere springs near here, but—" "But," Jonas said, flicking his tail, "I have to fly pretty far to get to them," he admitted. "I don't know if you can keep up. It's much too far for a human to walk." "Satoshi rides me," Ida said, "and I run very fast. Can you show us a spring, please?" "I'd offer you something," Satoshi said, "but we're almost out of food, and I don't really have anything else." "Oh, you don't need to give me anything," Joe said, flapping a wing dismissively. "Happy to help. And, you know, to not be eaten." He shot a nervous look at Nino, who was curling innocently around Satoshi's neck again. Sure was good on his word. The spring were quite far, but with Iber running and Jun using his keen eyesight to follow Shu's flight, they made good time. Satoshi drank from the spring for a long time, not knowing when he'd have another chance to drink so much. Nino splashed and dove into the water, catching several small minnows and disposing them all at Satoshi's side. Satoshi wasn't exactly sure how far they were from the East Sea anymore. He trusted Jun's directional sense, but the great sea dragon could be anywhere from hours to weeks away. And Satoshi knew his village didn't have weeks. They'd starved by then. "Don't worry," Jun said, appearing at his side and rubbing his soft head against Satoshi's elbow. "We'll find them." Satoshi scratched behind his ears and under his chin, soothed by the cat's calming presence. "Okay," he said to Jun, "let's go." As they traveled, Satoshi could feel something pulling at him. It was a strong power, something older than anyone he'd ever known, maybe older than anything could ever be. The further they went west, the more Satoshi's very soul was being dragged in by the power. As the sun set and they prepared for sleep, Satoshi couldn't eat. He was too nervous, too unsettled by this strange power. He slept and he dreamed. The same three young men as before curled around him speaking in soft whispers, but a fourth voice was there, and Satoshi felt as though his head was resting on someone's lap. His hair was being smoothed away from his forehead with a gentle, protective way, and the scent of the deep old earth filled his nose. Hush, the fourth man said. Sleep now. You'll need your strength, I think. And so Satoshi slept deeply, cradled and warmed on every side. He woke just as the sun had broken the horizon. In the dim light he could sense movement. Maybe Ida was standing in between him and the morning light, because he felt like large shapes suddenly got larger. He squinted, holding a hand over his eyes. Morning, Nino said, sliding out of his lap with a slippery, smooth grace. Wait here, I'll find you breakfast. No, let's go together, Jin said. If we can find water, Satoshi will need it. Nino agreed with only a minimal amount of grumbling, and they climbed on Iva's back and set off. This time Nino steered. His note was slightly better than Jun's. Shu had them all beat on hearing though. Guys, he called down as he flew overhead. I think I hear a steam. Nino scrambled up Iva's neck despite his protest of tiny claws pricking him head into the wind. I can smell it, Nino declared. But it's salty. It's not a stream, I don't think. The sea, maybe, Satoshi said hopefully. Maybe, Nino said. I smell a little magic too. More than the usual out here anyway. For 20 minutes they crested a hill. The view was endless. As far as anyone could see, in any direction was beautiful, sparkling green, blue-rippling water. Satoshi held in a breath at the purity of it. All the animals felt tingling along the skin like an itch that they couldn't scratch. Magic, Ada said, his nostrils flaring into the salty breeze that blew across him. Big magic. It stings, Nino complained, scratching at his muscle before pushing into Satoshi's shirt. Shu flew a few laps over their heads. He called down to them, Are we going? Jun looked at Satoshi. This was salt water. There was no way he could drink it, but ever since was screaming that there was something big and strong here, probably the same thing Satoshi was looking for. The great sea dragon was like a god as far as Jun knew, but that didn't mean anything in terms of his willingness to help a simple human. In fact, if anything, Jun fully expected the great sea dragon to just swallow Satoshi up in one bite for impudence. He's here, Satoshi said, and everyone looked at him with surprise. They hadn't expected him to feel the power too. I have to go. Satoshi, Jun said. Maybe there's another way. No, Satoshi said. There's no other way. I have to do this, everyone, for my village. Satoshi climbed up Iva's back. Iva followed him a few steps, but Satoshi turned and stopped him. He held out his hands in front of him. Please, he said, I must do this alone. Thank you all for your help, but this is my task now. He bowed deeply, then slid down the sandy path for the bridge where they were standing and flying over. They watched him grow smaller and smaller as he headed for the edge of the water. Then his tiny shape was simply swallowed by the glimmering light. Jill landed. He looked at the other three. Satoshi, Iva said. We have to help him somehow. For what? Nino asked sharply. When his task is finished, he's going home, and we're going home too. I don't really want that, Jim said. Me either, Iva said. Shu looked across the sea. He shuffled his feathers a bit awkwardly, unsure if his opinion would actually be appreciated. Finally, he just spit it out. Well, this is the place to be for that. Meaning what? Nino asked. Meaning there's one person who can help us all, she said. We just have to ask him. Everyone looked at the ocean together in silence. Satoshi said, the water lapping at his feet. Excuse me? The waves got a bit stronger. They rode up to his ankles and pulled sand out from under his feet. He felt like the ocean was trying to suck him in, swallow him up. I'm looking for the great sea dragon, he continued calmly. I don't suppose he's in. The waves pulled back a great distance before surging towards the shore. Satoshi was knocked backwards. Water rushed over his head, into his mouth, into his lungs, and he was drowning. He reached his hand out to the light he could still see with his salt-stung eyes. If he could just reach that light, that far-off light. He woke up inside a cave. He knew it was a cave because sunlight shone in an opening in the rocky ceiling. He was waist deep in water framed by the sunbeam, and in front of him was, I am Gag, the one they called the Great Sea Dragon, said the dragon. He was huge and glistening in a way that had nothing to do with water. His voice was a low rumble like the crest of waves against a cliffside. His scales changed colors fluidly from dark iridescent blue to pale opalescent green tipped with pearly sea foam. His claws were long and drumming impotently on a huge boulder he was leaning against. His teeth were as white as a full moon. I'm Satoshi, Satoshi said, when he'd found his word again. I need your help. Oh, said Gag, appearing totally disinterested. Do you know where you are? A cave? Satoshi guessed. Gag grinned, his teeth clenching. My cave, Gag said. I'm going to eat you unless you can give me one good reason not to. Satoshi swallowed. He pondered briefly. It didn't take him long. Maybe if he'd been a fighter or a magician himself, he would have needed to strategize longer, but he wasn't. He was just Satoshi the baker, so all he had to do was stand up. Water poured off him. He faced Gag straight on and spoke firmly. His village was counting on him after all. It's my birthday, he said. Your what? Gag said, momentarily confused. My birthday, Satoshi repeated. You can't eat me because it's my birthday. That wouldn't be very nice. I see, Gag said carefully. Also, Satoshi said, I need one of your scales. Why should I give you that? Gag said, repelled. These are magic, you know. I can't just be passing them out. It's my birthday, remember? Satoshi repeated. So you can give it to me as a birthday present. The dragon looked him up and down, measuring. Satoshi hoped he wasn't trying to decide if he could eat Satoshi in one bite or if he'd need two. The feeling did not exactly abate as Gag grinned, hugely sliding down and slowly rebelling in the water and diving forward with much more speed than Satoshi would have ever expected from something his size. But then Gag reached one scaly claw across his back and plucked it from a single scale the size of a dinner plate. He handed it to Satoshi, who immediately clutched it to his chest tightly. Thank you, Satoshi said, beaming up at the dragon. Gag patted him awkwardly on the head with one claw, as if he was slightly afraid something slimy might come off the man if he touched him too hard. Yes, Gag said impotently. Happy birthday. Now you go. And before Satoshi could ever open his mouth for another thank you, he woke up on the beach he'd walked to. The water was lapping tamely at his ankle and the sky was dark. Satoshi almost would have thought it all a dream, except the scale was still pressed tightly to his chest. It glowed dimly in the moonlight, reflecting every little figure that shone on its smooth surface. It felt warm against his skin, and he smiled. They hadn't meant to follow Satoshi, at least not at first. Juno expressed concern over Satoshi's overall lack of directional sense. Ipa suggested that they just make sure he found the water okay, and Nino kept bouncing around, announcing loudly whenever he found one of Satoshi's footsteps. Shoo, shoo flew overhead, circling back with increasing frequency and increasing distress so they could not see Satoshi anywhere. When his footprints dead-ended at the edge of the water, the four animals stood in a grim line, staring at the glowing horizon for any sight of their human friend. The dragon didn't really eat him, did he? Ida asked. I mean, we would have probably heard that. He might have drowned, Joe said, sounding slightly frantic. He kept hopping forwards as the waves receding, looking for signs of the man, and then laughing frantically back when the tide rolled in again. He said he was from a fishing village, June reminded them. Don't you think he knows how to swim? Swimming in a pond is different than swimming out here, said Nino, the only one who had enough experience to weigh in on the matter. Guys, Joe said in a velvety tone. There are all these currents you can't really see, Nino explained. And the tides and things. Guys, Joe squawked. Sometimes the sand goes out from under your, Nino continued until an enormous wave rolled in and swallowed him completely. Guys! Joe shrieked right before the next wave drifted under too. Where did I get to? Here. They woke up in the cave. Shu was freezing and sneezing everywhere. He smelled like a wet feather duster. Oh, poor him. June and Nino kept pointedly away from him. I felt sorry for him and kept snuffling at him in an attempt to dry him up. Instead, Shu's feathers were drying in awkwardly sticky up shapes. Aww. And then the great sea dragon came. Hello, Snacks, he greeted them with his booming voice. Everyone shrank a few inches, but Ida still stepped forward. Hello, he said. I'm Ida, and this is... I know who you are. The dragon interrupted with a wave of his claws. Not that it matters. Dinner doesn't need a name. If it's all the same, we'd rather ask a favor of you, June said primly, instead of being eaten. I'm getting very tired of granting favors tonight, the dragon grumbled. The groom crested. I get it. No, whatever. The moon crested directly overhead, its light shining down into the cave as the waves of light bounced off the water and around the stone. The four animals shifted. All but one got larger. Shu continued to sneeze, although he although he no longer had wet feathers to weigh him down. Ivor began to rub his upper arms vigorously to help warm him back up. Well, that explains a lot, the dragon said when they all transformed. Now you really smell right, you know. Just smells like chicken, I swear, Nino agreed sullenly. Look, we know you're the great sea dragon and everything, Ivor said quickly. But we have this friend and we've gotten really close, you know. Like friends and things. And he's going home soon, but we can't really be like we are and still be friends, and we certainly can't go back with him, except that when we're like this, it would probably be okay, but we're only like this at night, so... Jim put a hand over Ivor's mouth quite firmly. Ivor made a slightly garbled noise before settling. What he means is, Jim clarified, we'd like to stay like this always, so we can be with him. The dragon scratched at his chin. Shu took it as a sign of the dragon was considering their request. Nino thought he had an itchy chin. Finally, the dragon slithered down at them and began clacking his claws together in a foreboding fashion. I can do what you ask, he said, but you will each have to pay a heavy price. We know, Nino said, but he's worth it. Shu finished him. The other three nodded their agreement. The dragon smiled. He pointed one claw at Ida. You the first, he said. From you I will take your lungs. You will never run as fast or hard, never breathe as deeply or as strong, and never will you escape a season's cold. From you the second, he said, pointing at him. I take your awareness of people. You will never again know what someone is feeling without asking, or know what they need from you. You will never easily understand someone else's heart again. From the third, he said to Nino, I will take time you could have spent with him. You cannot go near water. You will be sick on every boat, be ill near every wave. Every hour he spends fishing is an hour you cannot share with him. And from you, he said to shore, I take your flight. You will never soar ahead or beyond. You will never scout. You will never be at the top of the tree or edge of a cliff. All heights, even small ones, will cause your blood to freeze in terror, leaving you grounded forever. If you accept these prices, the dragon said, then let our deal be sealed. No one protested. The prices were fair pay for Satoshi. Then our covenant is struck, the dragon said. You will leave my cave as you entered it. And the waves came and swept them all away. Aww. They woke when the sun was already high in the sky. Nino shifted in the sand, itchy as a rat against his bearskin. He sat up, feeling waves washing over his legs, and felt sick. He turned around. Jin was floating awkwardly to his feet, having been pinned under Ida for what must have been half the night. Shu was examining himself inch by inch, never having seen his human form in full light before. Satoshi was shading his eyes from the sun, looking across the beach. Satoshi was standing just out of reach of the waves, the gleaming scale clutched to his chest. He looked surprised to see them, but much less so that Nino would have expected. Satoshi, Ida said joyfully, leaping to his feet and throwing himself at the smaller man. Look, we can come home with you now, if it's all right with you, Shu said. Satoshi looked at the four of them. Ida, tanned and long-limbed, warm to touch, like something freshly baked. Jun, pale but sinewy with gentle hands. Nino with his small form that seemed to curve against him with ease. Shu with his comforting hold and slightly red cheeks, aware of his nakedness in a way the others hadn't yet learned. Aww. Let's go home, Satoshi said with a big smile. And so they did. They returned to Satoshi's village. Satoshi himself placed a scale of the lagoon, and within a day all the fish had returned and more. Satoshi moved from his tiny apartment over the bakery to a bigger house closer to the lagoon. He fished and baked. Shu read books and taught the local children to read. Ida helped him playing with them whenever they got tired of lessons. Jun helped Satoshi fish sometimes, and Nino kept their house feeling like a home. They lived happily ever after. Aw, that was a cute story. Okay, and again, please subscribe and like this video and comment, and if you want me to read another fanfiction, you just have to send me a link and then I'll do it. Bye bye!